Hello everyone, welcome back. In this video here, we're going to be discussing all of the NHL roster finalizations. Doing a quick video here discussing all the teams and the roster finalizations for the start of the 2023-2024 NHL season. We'll go to all of that coming up right now. Hello everyone, welcome back to another video here at the Internet Hockey Channel. It's pretty late where I am right now, but I wanted to get this video out here before it got too late. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe. We're so close to 200 subscribers, so remember to keep on subscribing. I wouldn't be able to do this without you, so once again, don't forget to subscribe. In this video here, we're just going to be going through every single team's roster finalizations, their 23-man rosters to become cap compliant before the 23-24 season. Now, some of these teams will have to change their lineups before the start of the season. Players like Belski, like Price, there's a couple of other guys, have not been placed in long-term injury reserve yet because they need to be cap compliant beforehand. So the rosters will remain like this for the next 24 hours. Then tomorrow at 2 p.m. Pacific time, 5 p.m. Eastern time, they can make some more moves. So for the next 24 hours, these are what these rosters will be like. Just want to go quickly here team by team, discuss some of these teams' rosters. Three teams who we do not have at this point in time are the Oilers, the Golden Knights, and the Kings. Those are the only three teams whose finalized rosters hasn't come out yet. So when I do my video tomorrow discussing all the news and updates that have happened over the past couple of days, I'll definitely include those three teams in their roster finalizations. But we're going to do the other 29 teams right now. So we're going to first go over here with the Florida Panthers. The Panthers' starting 23-man roster includes 13 forwards, including Alex Barkov, Matthew Tkachuk, Sam Reinhart, Sam Bennett, Crowder Verhaeghe, Evan Rodriguez, Eetu Luostarinen, Nick Cousins, Steven Lorentz, Kevin Stenlund, Anton Lundell, Mackie Samoskevich, and Ryan Lomberg. So not too many surprises there. I expected most of those guys to make the roster. I am a little bit surprised Stenlund made the roster, especially Mackie Samoskevich, who was signed the offseason after playing in college. A little bit surprised he got in. They have 7 defensemen, including Forsling, Mikola, OEL, Mike Riley, Kuliakov, Mahura, and a real surprising one here in Uvis Balinskis. Balinskis I did not expect to make the roster. He's a young, surprising player who's come up, been able to earn himself a roster spot. I pretty much expected everyone else to make the roster there. You have Bobrovsky and Stolarz as your two goaltenders. And you have Ekblad Montour starting on injury reserve. So not too many surprises there. That looks like a really good roster, in my opinion, for Florida. I am a little bit surprised Balinskis and Samoskevich made the roster. But then again, I think those two looks like really good players who should be able to help the Panthers this year. The Anaheim Ducks finalized their 23-man roster. They have Couturier, Adam Henrique, Trevor Zegras, Jakob Silfverberg, Ryan Strome, Frank Vetrano, Brock McGinn, Max Jones, Leo Carlson, Mason McTavish, Sam Carrick, Brett Liaison, and Benoit Olivier Giroux on the forward group. They have Cam Fowler, Radko Gudas, Ilya Bushkin, Jamie Drysdale, Jackson Lacombe, Pavel Mintyukov, Tristan Lunier, and Urho Vanakainen on the defensive end. They have Gibson and Dostal in net. They have Killorn and Lundestrom and IR with DeLeo on season opening injury reserve. So not too many surprises in the forward group on the goaltending side. I am a little bit surprised that Mintyukov, Lacombe, and Lunier all made the starting roster for the Ducks. Not sure if they'll all be on the roster come the first game, but definitely the Ducks look like they might be going with a little bit of a younger blue line, so that's going to be interesting there for the Ducks. For the Toronto Maple Leafs, they had Austin Matthews, John Tavares, Mitch Marner, William Nylander, Tyler Bertuzzi, Max Domi, David Kampf, Calle Yarncroke, Ryan Reeves, Easton Cowan, Matthew Nyes, Fraser Minton, and Bobby McMahon on the forward group. Morgan Riley, TJ Brody, John Klingberg, McCabe, Liljegren, and Gio on the defensive end. They have Samsonov and Wall in nets. They have Timmins, Muzzin, Murray all placed on long-term injury reserve. So not exactly sure if that's the way it's going to start for the Leafs day one. I think Easton Cowan could probably still be moved to the minors. Maybe even McMahon go back to the minors. That's interesting, but that's a decent Leafs roster to start the season. For the Devils, they have Timo Meier, Jack Hughes, Jesper Bratt, Nico Hischier, Palat, Toffoli, Holla, McLeod, Bastian, Lazar, Nosek, Holtz, Mercer, and Tierney make it on the forward group. They have Hamilton, Marino, Siegenthaler, Miller, Smith, Ball, and Hughes make it on the defensive end. I am a little bit surprised Simon Nemec wasn't able to make it on the defensive end. They have Vanacek and Schmid in net. And then they have Halonen, Foote, Dawes, and Kincaid start the season on season opening injury reserve. So not overly surprised there. I am a little bit surprised Nemec didn't make the team, but other than that, no surprises there for the Devils. The Sharks have put on their roster Giovanni Smith, Will Eklund, Thomas Bordeleau, Philip Zadina, Fabian Zetterlund, Nico Sturm, Alex Barabanov, Luke Cunnin, Anthony Duclair, Mike Hoffman, Kevin LeBanc, Mikael Granlund, and Tomas Hertl on their forward group to start the season. You have Vlasic, Ferraro, Ruta, Benning, Kinazayev, Burrows, Thrun, and Emberson on the defensive end. Really young defensive group. I am not surprised at all that Thrun made it. I'm quite surprised and happy that he did. He's going to be a fantastic player for our Sharks this year. You have Blackwood and Kakinen in net, while Couture, Shimmick, and McDonald start on injury reserve, and Russell and Okatyak start on season opening IR for the San Jose Sharks. So not a bad roster there. The Bolts starting forward group is Alex Berboulet, Austin Watson, who they just signed today to from his PTO to an NHL contract. So they have Berboulet, Watson, Mott, Glendening, Isamont, Hagel, Sheary, Jeannot, Paul, Cirelli, Stamkos, Point, and Kucherov on the forward group. They have Sergachev, Hedman, Chernak, Perbix, Dahan, Fleury, and Radish on the defensive end. And then they have Tompkins and Johansson as their two goaltenders, which is really surprising in my opinion. I thought they would have picked one up off of waivers, but they wound up not being able to do that. Andrei Vasilevsky is currently on injury reserve, while Brent Seabrook and Logan Brown are on long-term injury reserve, and Roman Schmidt, as well as Jack Finley, are both on season opening injury reserve to start the season, so really good stuff there from the Tampa Bay Lightning. Nashville has a young roster to start the year out. They have O'Reilly, Nyquist, Decisions, Glass, Trennan, Tomasino, Parsonen, Novak, Evangelista, Fagimo, McCarron, Sherwood, and Smith. On the forward group, they have Yossi, McDonough, Barry, Shen, Carrier, Fabro, Lozano on the defensive end, Saros and Lankinen in net, as well as Philip Forsberg, currently starting the season on injury reserve, and Igor Afanaseyev starting the season on season opening injury reserve, so hopefully Forsberg's not out too long, but that's a really, really young forward group there for the Nashville Predators. In Pittsburgh, they have Crosby, Malkin, Gensel, Rust, Raquel, Smith, Carter, Eller, Achari, O'Connor, Nieto, and Harkins on the forward group. Not surprising there. That's the forward group they go with. They have Carlson, Letang, Graves, Joseph, Ruedel, John Ludwig, who they apparently acquired off of waivers today from the Florida Panthers, and Ryan Shea. So those are some pretty decent depth defensemen, some young depth defensemen that I don't think have had too much NHL experience in Shea and Ludwig yet. They also have Jerry and Nedeljkovic as their two goalies. And they also have Ansons and Butcher start the season on season opening injury reserve. So decent roster there for the Penguins. Buffalo has Jeff Skinner, Tage Thompson, Dylan Cousins, Victor Olofsson, Alex Tuck, Jordan Greenway, Casey Middlestat. You've also got Zemgias Girgensons, Kyle Pozo, Tyson Jost, Payne Krebs, John Jason Peterka, and Zach Benson. The 13th overall pick from the 2023 draft has played his way into the opening night roster, which is absolutely stunning. This sort of reminds me of a situation a couple of years ago where Cole Sillinger, who was taken 12th overall, played so well in training camp that the Jackets put him in the opening night roster, and I think he played the full season that year. I think he at least started it, but Sillinger was a fantastic player in his first year. So it'll be interesting to see if Benson stays with the Sabres. Going over to their defensive end and their goaltending, they have Dahlin, Samuelson, Clifton, Johnson, Jokiharju, Bryson, and Power on the defensive end. They're carrying three goalies right now in Comrie, as well as Levi and Luukkonen. Quinn's out on IR to start the season. Matthew Savoy is out on season opening injury reserve to start the season. And that's the Sabres roster, not overly surprising there. The Canucks forward group has Phil DiGiuseppe, Dakota Joshua, Vasily Podkolzin, and Nils Hoglander. Recently acquired Sam Lafferty, Pius Suter, Teddy Bluger, Anthony Beauvillier, Connor Garland, Andrei Kuzmenko, Brock Besser, Peterson, and Miller on the forward group. Defensively, they have Hughes, Myers, Ronick, Seuss, Cole, Brisebois, and Juleson. On the goaltending side, they have Demko and Smith as their two goalies. Injury reserve, they have Ilya Mikheyev to start the season. And then they have on LTIR, Tucker Pullman. So they have a couple of injuries there, but a solid roster there for the Vancouver Canucks. The Calgary Flames, they have Jonathan Huberdeau, Nazem Kadri, Andrew Mangiapane, Mikael Backlund, Blake Coleman, Elias Lindholm, Yuri Govich, Dylan Dubé, Matt Coronado, Walker Dewar, Brian Hunt, AJ Guerrero, who they claimed off of waivers today from the Boston Bruins, and Adam Ruzicka on the forward group. Not half bad there. Defensively, they have Uyghur, Hanifin, Anderson, Tanev, Zadorov, Osterley, and Gilbert on the defensive end. No surprises there. Their goalies are Markstrom and Vladar. While Rooney starts on IR, Shillington on long-term injury reserve, and Pelletier starts on season opening injury reserve. So some injuries to deal with there for the Flames, but definitely a solid roster there. In Colorado, you have McKinnon, Rantanen, Nichushkin, Lehkonen, Johansson, Colton, Wood, Tatar, O'Connor, Cogliano, Drouin, and Olofsson starting the season for the Colorado Avalanche. You have Makar, Girard, Manson, Taves, Byram, McDermott, and Johnson on the defensive end, which is a solid defense there for the Colorado Avalanche. Goaltending-wise, you have Georgiev as well as Ivan Prosvetov, who the Avalanche acquired on waivers today from the Arizona Coyotes to be their backup. So it's not a great situation to have Prosvetov as the backup, but he's a decent goaltender, so solid there for the Avalanche. They also have Pavel Francouz start on injury reserve. Landeskog's going to start on long-term injury reserve. And then they have Bukage, Foodie, and Wagner starting on season-opening injury reserve. So some interesting things there for the Avalanche. In Arizona, they have Clayton Keller, Nick Schmalz, Jason Zucker, Krause, Kerfoot, Michelli, Bukestad, Hayton, Boyd, McBain, Cooley, as well as O'Brien and Carcone on the forward group. No surprises there. I'm a little bit surprised Gunther didn't make the roster, but it's a solid group there for the Coyotes on the forward group. They have Dumba, Jersey, Brown, Stetcher, Valimaki, Moser, Dermott on the defensive end. They have Vejmelka and Ingram on the goaltending side. They also have Jakub Voracek on IR, as well as Little and Weber. And then they have Anson Thornton on the season opening injury reserve. So a really good group there in Arizona. Like I said, I think it's going to be a fantastic group this year. For Minnesota, they have started their roster off with Kaprizov, Boldy, Eriksson Ek, Zuccarello, Marcus Foligno, Frederick Gaudreau, Marcus Johansson, Ryan Hartman, Brendan Duhaime. Rossi made the team, so that's good to see. Dwar and Maroon. So no real surprises there. On the defensive end, exactly who we thought would make the roster. Addison, Faber, Merrill, Goligoski, Middleton, Brodin, and Spurgeon. Goalies, they have Gustafsson and Fleury starting the season as their two goaltenders. And then they have Caden Bankier as well as Michael Milane and Sam Hentages on the season opening injury reserve. So not great there, but they have a solid group in my opinion for the Wild. Over in Chicago, their starting roster for the season, they have Hall, Tyler Johnson, Anthony Santoniciu, Foligno and Perry, Dickinson, Donato, Connor Bedard, of course, Cole Gutman, they have Lucas Reichel, they have Mackenzie Entwistle, Reese Johnson, as well as Kachok and Taylor Radish. So some solid additions there for the Hawks. If you look at the defensive end, they have Jones, Zaitsev, Murphy, Tenorti, Korchinski, Kaiser, and Vlasic. So, like I said, they're going to have a young roster this year on the defensive end. Korchinski, Kaiser, Vlasic, three solid defensive prospects. You have Mrazek and Soderblom in net. Khrushchev and Colin Blackwell are starting on injury reserve. And then they have Samuel Savoy, Colin Dock, and Luke Phillips starting on season opening injury reserve. So some injuries there to start the season for the Hawks, but they have a seriously decent forward group and a young blue line. If you look at the stars, they have Sagan, they have Ben, they have Hintz, they have Robertson, they have Marchment, they have Pavelski, they have Radek Faksa, Matt Duchesne, they have Evgeny Donov, Craig Smith, Ty Dellandrea, Wyatt Johnston, and Sam Steele. So not overly surprising there. No one that's really overly surprising. Defensively, they have Heiskanen, Lindell, Suter, Hakanpää, Lundqvist, Harley, and Hanley. On the goaltending side, you have Onger, you have Wedgwood. And you have Wheatcroft and Rosberg starting on season opening injury reserve for Dallas. So not overly surprising there. If you look at the Blues, they have Cairo, Thomas, Shen, Buchnevich, Saad, Hayes, Kapanen, Verana, Toropchenko, Blay, Neighbors, Alexandrov, and Sundqvist on their starting lineup for the forward group. Defensively, they have Falk, Krug, Pareko, Leddy, Scandella, Bertuzzo, Tucker, and Peronovich on their defensive end. On the goaltending side, they have Binnington and Hofer. So hopefully that's a group there that's confident they can get back to the playoffs. If you look at the Winnipeg Jets, they have Kyle Connor, Mark Scheifele, Nikolai Ehlers, they have Ayak Diafalo, they have Niederreiter, Velarde, Lowry, Appleton, Nemesnikov, Kupari, Perfetti, and Gustafsson. On the defensive end, they have Josh Morrissey, Nate Schmidt, Neil Pionk, Brendan Dillon, Dylan DeMello, Sandberg, Stanley, and Chisholm. Goaltending-wise, they have Connor Hellebuyck and Laurent Brossoit. And they have Ville Heinola starting on season opening injury reserve, so a decent roster there for the Jets. If you look at the Seattle Kraken, who are the other last Western Conference team we have yet, like I said, I'll do the other three tomorrow morning when I do my next video. But Andrei Burakovsky, Jordan Eberle, Jane Schwartz, Bjorkstrand, Gord, McCann, Wenberg, Tanev, Yamamoto, Tolvanen, Beniers, Cartier, and Belmar. So the Kraken have a solid forward group, followed up by Dunn, Alexiak, Larson, Dumoulin, Schultz, Borgen, and Migna on the defensive end. They also have Grubauer, Decord as their two goalies. and no one on injury reserve. So a solid roster there for the Kraken to start the season. If you look at the Carolina Hurricanes, they have Aho, Teravainen, Kotkaniemi, Bunting, Nashis, Stahl, Fast, Martinook, Drury, Jarvis, Lemieux, and Nosen on their forward group to start the season. They have Orlov, Slavin, Burns, Shea, Pesci, D'Angelo, and Chatfield. Like I said, one of the best decors in the league for Carolina. You also have Frederick Anderson. You have Antti Ranta on the goaltending side. And then you also have Andrei Svechnikov starting the season on injury reserve. Hopefully he's not out for too long. And then they have Suzuki and Ponomarov on the season opening injury reserve. So it's a decent forward group to start the season for the Hurricanes. If you look at the Columbus Blue Jackets, they have Goudreau, Laine, Roslovic, Jenner, Corrali, Robinson, Texier, Danforth, Fantilli, Johnson, Marchenko, Sillinger, Bemstrom, and Foudy. If you look at the defensive end, you have Werenski, Severson, Provorov, Goodbranson, Peak, Boqvist, and Bean. On the goaltending side, you have Merzlikins, you have Spencer Martin, Tarasov, Chinnikov, and Olivier are starting the season on injury reserve, while Jordan Duhaime is starting the season on season opening injury reserve. So some decent players there for the Jackets to start their season. The Rangers, they have Panarin, Zibanejad, Kreider, Trocheck, Hedl, Goudreau, Lafreniere, Kakko, Cooley, who's been a really good player this year for the Rangers. You also have Wheeler, you have Bonino, Vesey, and Pitlick on the forward group. Defensively, they have Fox, Trouba, Miller, Lindgren, Schneider, Gustafsson, and Jones. On the goaltending side, they have Shesterkin and Quick, so no injuries to start the season and a really good lineup there for the New York Rangers. If you look at the Philadelphia Flyers, they have a really good lineup too. They have Couturier, Atkinson, Konechny, Farabee, Lawton, Cates, Hathaway, Frost, Delorier, Tippett, Paling, and two surprises in Bobby Brink and Tyson Forrester, who are some really good young players, so good to see those guys get some time on the NHL roster, as well as Couturier and Atkinson get back from injuries. I have Sanheim, Walker, York, Stahl, Andre, who's another surprise, Sealer, and Zamula on the defensive end. Zamula's a good young defender as well. You have goalies Hart, Urson, and Sandstrom to start the season on the Philadelphia Flyers starting roster. You have Ryan Ellis and Rasmus Ristolainen on the injury reserve, and then they have Avon on season opening injury reserve. So a decent roster there for the Philadelphia Flyers. The NYI, they have Barzell, Horvat, Lee, Nelson, Pageau, Palmieri, Engvall, Cizikas, Clutterbuck, Martin, Johnston, Wallstrom, Gauthier, and Fasching on their forward group to start the season. On the defensive end, they have Bolduc and Aho playing with their top 5 defensemen in Romanov, Pelech, Pulak, Dobson, and Mayfield. They have Varlamov and Sorokin in net. And they have no injuries to start the year, so a solid group there from the Islanders. If you look at the Washington Capitals, a couple of surprises there. Starting lineup, they have Ovechkin, Backstrom, Kuznetsov, Oshie, Mantha, Wilson, Strome, Milano, Dowd. A surprise here in Ivan Miroshinchenko, who I thought would have gone to the AHL. You also have Riley Suter, you have Matthew Phillips, and you have Beck Malenstein. So a really good group of players there for the Capitals on the forward group. Defensively, they have Carlson, Jensen, TVR, Faravari, Sandin, Alexiev, and Johansson. On the net, they have Kemper and Lindgren, and they have Edmondson starting on injury reserve and Pacioretty starting on long-term injury reserve. So a couple of injuries to start the year for the Capitals, but it's a solid roster nonetheless. For the Boston Bruins, you have Pastrnak, Marchand, Coyle, Zaka, DeBrusk, Frederick, Geeky, Lucic, JVR, and a couple of surprises in Poitras and Beecher, who are going to start the season on the NHL roster, as well as Lauko. So that's a solid group there on the forward side for the Bruins. They have McAvoy, Lindholm, Carlo, Grzelcyk, Forbert, Shattenkirk, and Mitchell on the defensive end. You have, once again, Swayman and Allmark in net. And then you have no injuries to start the season for the Bruins, so they look really good to start the year. Red Wings, you have Larkin, DeBrincat, Kopp, Comfer, Perron, Fabry, Costin, Sprong, Rasmussen, Fisher, Raymond, and Veleno. So no surprises there. Defensively, they have Sherratt, Gostisbehere, Hole, Wallman, Mata, Petrie, and Sider. They're carrying 3 goalies to start the year with Reimer, Lyon, and Husso. And then they have on injury reserve Matt Luff to start the year, and Carter Mazur on the season opening injury reserve to start his year. So some injury reserves there for a couple of players for the Red Wings. You also have, for Montreal, you have Suzuki, Caulfield, Gallagher, Anderson, Armia. You have Doc, you have Pearson, you have Newhook, you have Monahan, Evans, Harvey Pinard, Slavkovsky, Pizzetta, and a little bit of a surprise here in Yolonen on the forward group. Defensively, they have Matheson, Stavard, Harris, Biron, Gouli, and Kovacevic. You have a 3-goalie monster there on the nets in Montembeault, Allen, and Primo. They have 2 players starting injury reserve in Price and Weidman. They have Dvorak starting on long-term injury reserve. That's their lineup right now. Like I said, they could change. A lot of speculation that Price will go on long-term injury reserve, which will give them enough space to go on get Arber Xhekaj back from the minors, maybe even Matthias Norlinder. So I wouldn't be overly shocked if the Canadiens weren't done making moves before their first game of the season. If you look at the Ottawa Senators, they have a really minimalized roster right now. Stützle, Tkachuk, Giroux, Tarasenko, Batherson, Joseph, Kubalik, Greg, Kostelich, Charterer, McEwen, Kelly, and the unsigned St. Pinto on their lineup right now. They also have Chabot, Chychrun, Zub, Brandstrom, Hamnick, and Sanderson on the defensive end. They have Korpisalo and Forsberg in net, and they have Norris on injury reserve to start the year, but there's a lot of speculation he'll go on long-term injury reserve soon so they can sign Pinto. So those are your updates there for the rosters. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. There's definitely a few surprises for me, like Miroshinchenko, Samoskevich, Benson for sure. Definitely, there's probably going to be a couple of other ones who start their season with their NHL team in Game 1, so it's going to be interesting to see. But we have our first few NHL games tomorrow in Nashville, Tampa Bay, Chicago, and Pittsburgh, and Vegas and Seattle, so there's definitely going to be some NHL hockey tomorrow, which is going to be fun. We also going to do one more video tomorrow talking about some of the more important news that has happened concerning the rosters, as well as we'll go over the other 3 teams who we did not get to today. So definitely, I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on all the teams' rosters down in the comments. Are you surprised about any of these guys making the roster, and do you think any of these other guys will be called up before the season starts? Definitely, I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts all down in the comments. So that's what I'm going to talk about for today. Once again, remember to like this video, and don't forget to subscribe down below. Once again, we're so close to 200 subscribers. You guys have been so supportive, so don't forget to keep on subscribing. I also do a blog talking about news, rumors, analysis, stuff like that, so definitely check that out. I'll leave links down in the description below, and I can't wait to see you guys all for the next video. See you guys soon.